Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa u'minu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Arsalahu bil huda wa din al-haq liyadhhiruhu ala ad-din kullihi wallahu kariha al-mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. And this way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd, fa'inna asdiqa al-hadith kitabullah wa awtaqa al-ura kalimatu taqwa wa khayrul milali milatu Ibrahim wa khayrul sunani sunatu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah wa asanu al-kasasi hadha al-Qur'an wa khayrul umuri awazzimuha wa shayrul umuri muhdatatuha wa asanu al-hadyu hadyu al-anbiya wa ashraful maut katlu shuhada wa amma alama dalalatul ba'da al-huda wa khayrul amali ma nafa'a wa khayrul hadi ma uzba'a wa shayrul amma al-kab. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the most truthful of discourses is kitabullah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. Best of the community is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah, or the best way of life is the one adopted by the Prophet sallallahu. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. Worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. Best acts are the ones that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin. He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. I'd like to begin with a few things from the newspaper, of all things, and see if the newspaper and present history coincides with what we've been praying for and where we've been coming from. A subtle sign of diminishing U.S. influence, besides leaders laughing at Trump. Did any of y'all see the UN? Okay, if you saw it, U.S. and Iran both reached a dead end in Iraqi politics. This is a lie from the U.S. newspapers trying to explain about the Iraqi burning of the American embassy in Basra. And so the U.S. hired somebody to go burn the Iranian embassy to try to make it look, or consulate, to try to make it look like Basra or Iraq and Iran is not getting along. This is day before yesterday. Bolton warns of terrible consequences if nations defy Iran's sanction. This is old dumb Bolton telling the world, if you guys get out of line, if you support Iran, you got trouble coming from the U.S. Trump at the UN pillories Iran and praises himself. That means Trump talks bad about Iran and praises himself. This is our dear friend Netanyahu. Israeli leader says Iran has secret atomic site. I don't know if y'all remember, 3 years ago he went, remember them old type of bombs of a couple of 100 years ago that had a fuse on it and it was a round black ball? He went to the UN with a picture of one of those bombs as though it was Iran with an atomic bomb. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Now, a realism that isn't really real. A realism that isn't really real. This is Big Don at the UN, of all places, speaking in front of world leaders. You know, when you're talking with your homeboys on the block, you can talk a lot of trash because they're all in the same mode. But when you go out of your neighborhood and everybody is educated and trained in world affairs, you gotta talk like you got some sense. And you gotta act like you got some sense too. But Don don't run like that. So, I don't even need that. I'll show this one in a minute and then you can give the rundown. So, Don is at the UN, and the whole UN laughs at Don. Don is telling them who he is and what he's been doing. And the whole UN laughs at the President of the United States. And then he says something about somebody else, Germany, and you can see the German delegation. I don't know if y'all watch the UN. Late September is always a period where they have world leaders where each president can come and speak to the UN. And so the Iranian president spoke, well, all of them spoke. But our dear president, he spoke at the UN, it might have been on Tuesday, and he cut loose. And everybody has been laughing at the poor boy. Has America lost its voice? That's one thing. Anyway, Big Don goes to the UN. I thought I had one article here about Don. Everybody laughing at Don. And it's better when you see it than when I say it happens. Because if the white man said it, gives it a little more credibility. Not that I'm not unbelievable. People like their brother and they say he ain't that bad. But if the white man said it gives it a little bit more credibility. It might be in here, the Dear New York Times. We'll look through one more, and if it's not here right away, we're going to call it a day. But there's a reason that we're going through these. There's a reason that we're talking about these, and we'll get to them in just 1 second. Okay, the reason that I want to talk about all this is for a certain reason. What's that reason? That reason is that we're living in a special time right now. And Big Don goes to the UN and he starts running this program, and the people of the UN start laughing at him. Now, that wouldn't be nothing if right before your very eyes, for the last, I don't know when, people have been coming on this podium and saying, "Oh Allah, bring down Don in a heap of laughter," right? Y'all remember that? Do you ever remember me saying, "Oh Allah, make a fool out of America," right? You never heard me say, "Oh Allah, set them on fire, have them," said, "Oh Allah, make a fool out of them." Now, they've been being made a fool out of recently, but this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To me, I'm looking at it like, yeah, you prayed for it, you got it. Hey man, you ain't got nothing but good heading your way. You didn't pray. Let the world laugh at Don and he make a fool out of himself, right? In the front of the world, not just at the Senate or in a state building somewhere. This boy is on the world stage. And he breaks off into his dialogue, and the leaders of the world break out into a laugh. And when he would mention some of their countries, he would always be wrong, and they would be chuckling. Did you hear what the boy said? One of the special ones is Germany. I don't know if y'all was watching. In Germany, said this boy said, "You know what he said?" And they point at each other and they point at him. It's a spectacle. Okay. Now, Don did in there. Day before yesterday, he chaired the UN Security Council. Was anybody aware of that? And everything he said at the UN Security Council, everybody that came up and spoke talked against Don. He's the chair. He says, "I want everybody to be mad at Iran. We're going to do this to Iran. We don't like Venezuela. And y'all got to go against socialism, and y'all got to do all of that." And guess what? Everybody came up and spoke. And they say, we're pushing brotherhood. We're pushing communication. We got a plan now. This is what Don is sitting there. And he's saying, Bolton just said, right? Anybody that don't stick with us when we put sanctions on Iran, and everybody came up and spoke, and the head of the European Union and everybody else said, we have a plan that we're not going to use US dollars. We're going to go around a certain way, and we're going to stick our finger in your eye. You ain't telling nobody what to do no more. Your days is numbered, homeboy. That's what everybody is telling Don at the UN this last week. They're laughing at him, and the whole world is on this side, and they're laughing at Don. And then Don says that the reason Iran is having so much trouble, and so Don then pays some people to blow up a military parade, which is on September the 22nd. That's the day, 38 years ago, September the 22nd, 1980, Iraq attacked Iran. So that's the day they have military parades. They attacked Iran. Iran didn't have they had new weapons, but they didn't have an army because a lot of the generals with the Shah, they'd run off. They didn't have an army. When you cross the Shatt al-Arab, on this side is Iraq, on the other side is Iran. They attacked all the border, and they went all the way as many as 70 and 80 kilometers inside of Iran. And they destroyed big cities. Some cities, like Khorram Shah, right on the Shatt al-Arab, was so destroyed they didn't rebuild it. They built the city next to it. They built a new city because the other one was so shattered, this is too much trouble. We'll build a brand new city next to it. And these are million population, several 100,000 cities. Saudi Arabia supported Saddam Hussein. Jordan, Egyptian pilots, Sudanese mercenaries, Jordanian regulars. The Soviet Union at that time gave them T-72 tanks. The French gave them their sophisticated Exocet missile. The Germans and the British, and probably the Americans, gave Iraq poison gas. And they gassed hundreds of thousands of Iranians in 1983. When they came before the UN, they didn't say, they said, somebody's using poison gas. They sent victims of poison gas all over Europe and everywhere else to get treated to prove that poison gas has been used. So that was technically World War III because the whole world, the United States, the British, the French, all European powers, the Arabs, everybody in the world almost, right? $50 billion in those days is a lot of money. From Saudi Arabia, $33 billion from Kuwait. They was all on that side. There's only one country you hear right now in the news, Iran got to get out of Syria. Iran don't belong there. Well, guess what? There was only one country in the Arab world that did not fight against Iran, and that was Syria. That's Syria. So when Iran saw Syria in trouble 7, 8 years ago, being invaded by US agents, Saudi agents, and all that stuff, Iran said, hey, homeboy, here we come. And that's why they're there. That's why Hezbollah went. Because Pastaran came through, the Revolutionary Guards, came through Syria and then went into Lebanon to develop Hezbollah. Well, what is Syria doing in Lebanon? Technically, y'all may never heard of Sykes-Picot, but it was after World War I, the British divided up the Middle East. In one country called Sham, they lopped a piece off of Syria and called it Lebanon. That's where Lebanon came from. The British kept one side and the French, so they spoke French in Lebanon because the French was there. Anyway, so right now we have the world in turmoil again. There's big stuff going on in the world. What position are we going to take? First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and answered our prayers. Right? Probably most of y'all have heard it out. Make dua, oh Allah, make a fool out of us. Anybody remember that? Make fun out of it. Because we've had a policy. You know, when you look at wars, you see war is a psychopath's game. I mean, you destroy so many people. When the U.S. went into Iraq, first of all, Iran and Iraq had fought already from 1980 to 1988, it's a million people dead. Okay. Then, that ain't nothing. Saddam said the Americans and the West took their stooge Saddam, and they told the Kuwaitis, and they told the Saudi Arabians. They said, we want you to mess with Saddam. So you know what they both did? See, Saddam, when he was fighting Iran, he was fighting to protect them. The cowardly little mealy-mouthed Muslims over there, Saudi Arabia, and all them guys, they sweetie pies. They sweetie pies. The whole Saudi Arabian army with mercenaries and with the brand newest bombs been bombing backward Yemen for 3 years, and they ain't got nowhere. Because they sissies, right? They sissies. So here's what happened. When all the West had given Saddam Hussein in 1980 and 1988 a lot of weapons and technology and everything to fight against Iran, that war is over. Now Saddam has a big army, tons of weapons, and a trained group of people, right? And Israel is right over there. So Israel tells them, you got to get all that stuff back from that bomb. They said, well, how are we going to do that? They said, well, so they figure out a way. Does anybody remember the ambassador to Iraq called April Gillespie? April Gillespie. Here's how the setup worked. So any of y'all are snitching, you be careful, because the white man gonna cut your throat eventually. As soon as he can get to you, he cutting other people's throat now, but he will get to you. Don't you worry about that. Don't think about dying in your bed with all your kids around you, saying, Grandpapa, we love you, we hate to see you go. No, the white man gonna give you a miserable ending. Anyway, so here's what they did to their stooge. Saddam did a good job for them. When Saddam is a stooge, he can do anything he wants. If anybody ever heard of the Stark, it's a U.S. ship. Saddam was trying to hit some Iranians and shot a missile, a French Exocet missile, at the Iranians. The Iranians used big tinfoil deflectors and deflected it. You know what it hit? The Stark. Killed 38 American sailors. Did the U.S. do anything? No, because that's their friend at that time. Now, here's how they're going to get their weapons and everything back and break the back of Saddam. The Kuwaitis and the Saudis go to Saddam and say, man, you got to give us our money back. We gave you $50 billion. I gave you $33 billion. And he said, man, I was fighting for y'all. You sisters, y'all, how y'all gonna do that, man? We got all these Iraqis killed, and y'all sitting over there partying, and we all getting killed, and now you want the money back that you was giving me to help fight the guy that you scared of. They said, we want our money back. So, y'all can remember on TV, April Gillespie. She's the ambassador. Here's what Saddam goes to her and says, well, man, not a line over here, and I don't know why. What do y'all think? Talking about America. April Gillespie said on the regular white folks channels in those days, 3 to ABC, CBS, NBC, we have no interest in inter-Arab conflicts. What does that mean? You can knock them over. Soon as Saddam heard that, he invaded Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. Just because Kuwait was cheating, you know, like they next door to each other. Now Kuwait trying to be slick. Saddam got all this trouble fighting Iran. It's called slant drilling. This is my house right here. This is your house over here. I pumped out all of my oil, right? The fence is right there. So instead of if I drill straight down, I used up all my oil. But if I drill sideways, a couple of blocks down, I'm going to hit your oil, and yours is full. That's what Kuwait's doing to Saddam. All kind of shenanigans. So Saddam is mad, so he go after them boys. And you remember the news? I don't know how I got on this, but I'm going to stop in a minute. I'm going to try to end early. So, guess what he do? When he invaded them, then old Bush said, aggression will not stand. And he kept threatening Saddam, and Saddam was thinking it's all a show. That's why he never pulled back, because he said, y'all just gave me, I know how y'all do, y'all just be playing. But that was the whole deal. So the U.S. invaded Iraq and slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people. Then they used depleted uranium. Y'all remember that? Thousands and thousands of two-headed babies, six-legged babies, one-eyed babies born in Iraq. And a few thousand born here in America. From who? American troops, because they used them shells on Iraqi targets, then they stood on them. You know how they do, stood on the target, they just blew up, depleted uranium, and all the girls had babies down in Texas and other places, all of them. And all of those soldiers, U.S. soldiers, got sick. They called it the Gulf War Syndrome. They were saying, it ain't nothing. They was giving the people a couple of aspirins. Anyway, 750,000 people died from the sanctions and everything else. And what's that old lady named Madeline, right? They said, do you think that's necessary? You think that's what she said? I think it's worth it. 750,000. Let's speed up. Here we have a Middle East now. So you see what they did to Saddam. They knocked him and slowed him down. Then the next time, they just came back and they screwed up the whole country. But the second time when they came back, the Muslims was in pocket. And they started wearing old Sam down, so he had to leave. Same thing happened in Afghanistan. He's over there now 17 years. And the newspapers say they're lying about the people being killed. It's much more. But they can't go anywhere. So now, what about us? We pray, oh Allah, help us, make a fool out of old Sam. Had a world laughing at him like a joke. And that's what happened. Right? So when Allah answers your prayers directly, it's not just private. This is everybody in here that heard that for the last, I don't know how long, right? Now, to see something happen that you've been praying for, that's unexpected, because the world don't expect Big Sam to go down with a laugh. They expect this economy to take him down or anything, right? A fluke war or something is going to take Sam out. They don't believe he's going to be laughed out of power. Why? The Romans, they never got laughed out of power. Nobody in history. But we're in our time and we want to see a new dispensation. So we ask Allah, oh Allah, make a damn fool out of the big boy. Have the world laughing at him, and everybody here have heard that. Am I lying? Okay, that really happened. That's why, bro, that's really going on right now. Not only is that going on, everything that these idiots do is working against them. If y'all heard about the bombing on September 22nd in Iran, right? That bombing, the military parade, they were celebrating the war. That's the day that the war with Iraq started in 1980. That's why I was on that subject. And they did that. The guys that did it are bought and paid for by the United States, by Saudi Arabia. They got a name tag. They got it stenciled on their forehead. Saudi Arabia, America. Even Saudi Arabia and MK or Munafiqeen caught working in harmony together. You wouldn't know who they are, but they got Maryam Rajavi almost holding hands with the Saudi Arabia. That's the main enemy of Iran. That's those people who was bombing and killing the Iranians in the first part of the war. Okay, now they're threatening Iran with sanctions and what have you. What is Iran saying? They say, homeboy, you got the wrong crew. We've been sanctioned since 1980. We've been isolated and cut off all of this time. We ain't had no help from nobody. You come and threaten us with that? Is what they're saying today, yesterday, day before, and all the time. But here's where the dumbness come in. See, they don't understand what they're doing, and they don't understand when they're doing it. They're always talking on the news about what we're going to cause trouble in Iran. And we're going to have people fighting and arguing in Iran. Isn't that what they say on the news? They have 4 or 5 groups. They have 4 or 5 groups. Well, I don't need this. Y'all can hear me just the way I'm getting by. They have 4 or 5 different groups that are all fighting against the Islamic Republic of Iran. All bought and paid for by Saudi Arabia. In Awaz, that's in Khuzestan. I think that's the Arabic-speaking area in Iran. You know, Iran is a big country. When I drive around Iran, it feels like driving around in America. Because you can go from desert area to mountains, right? You can go to all different kinds of beautiful areas. This bombing last week in Awaz is supposed to humiliate Iranians. Because Americans showed pictures of it and they said the band guys, they were well armed, but they were hiding. In the military parade, they got a lot of arms. They are heavily armed, but they ain't got no bullets in no military parade. They don't set lock and load in the military parade, right? All the guys marching down the street, they just got the gun. They ain't got a bullet nowhere around them. So if they can't, the guy ain't close enough for them to throw the rifle at him, he got to duck and get out of the way. They killed women and children and everything else last week. And they did it to humiliate Iran. They did it to make fun of Iran. And what happened? These people, they don't even know what happened yet. They don't remember the revolution. They don't remember the history of Shiism. That stuff in Shiism that the Shias ain't paying attention to. For the revolution, people would come out in demonstrations. When it's time for it to go, Imam Khomeini said it's haram for you to stay in your houses today. In other words, everybody go out. That's what Imam said. Then, look here. You got to think about the time. This bombing went off almost the 20th to the 22nd. Guess what? That's Imam Hussein Day. That's when Imam Hussein was martyred. Everybody in Iran, all the Shias all over the world, are having parades and everything during that period of time, right? And then Arbain, which this year will be around October the 29th. See, Shias have the original event happened, but Arbain is 40 in there. 40 days later is the big show. I want you to think about Arbain in the last 4 or 5 years. I forget what it was last year, but the year before that, 3 years ago, it was 25 million people at Najaf and Karbala for ziyarah, for visits. Okay. I think last year was 25. When we came to Jum'ah, they were saying on Press TV it was 25 million. By the time we left Jum'ah, it was up to 29 or 30 million people. 2.5 million people go to Hajj, and it's overflowing. But the Shias visit Najaf and Karbala, and this year, for Arbain, I bet you it'll be 25 or 30 million, at least. What is this deal? Shiism is founded on martyrdom. Everything is martyrdom. Everybody's martyred. All the big, loving people are martyred. Up till a few years ago in Iran, the fountains, you know, you go by the street and the fountain, they got water in it. They must have put Kool-Aid in the fountain in Iran because all of it was red, like blood. And the idea about speak not of those who slain in the way of Allah is dead. No, they are alive, but you don't understand how. Imam Hussein's martyrdom have revived the Shia community all over the world every time it's needed. These idiots did the bombing on the celebration of Imam Hussein. That's the first go-round. They're going to celebrate again in another 30-something days, October 29th. Yeah, another 30 days. 31, 32 days. It commemorates martyrdom. They're going to remember the children and the women and the soldiers that are killed in Awaz. They're going to remember that. But also all of the accumulated, pent up from Shias being bombed and killed in Iraq and Pakistan and Afghanistan. Almost every day, right? They're talking about disunity. They're going to produce. It's exactly the opposite. Think of mine, go on the internet, punch up anything, Iran Today, press, everybody. They're produced a type of unity along with the sanctions that takes everybody back to the early days of the revolution. That's what these dummies have done. The only thing that's different now, Iran is not isolated. the whole world. At the UN, when that dummy, your dear president, hosted that meeting at the UN day before yesterday, we're against Iran, we hate Iran, da 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 da. Everybody, the French, the Germans, everybody came up and said, we support the Islamic Republic, to stick their finger in old Don's eye. What does that mean to you and I? We prayed, oh Allah, make a fool out of Don. Now, we have a string of victories. We as a community, no matter how you look at it, we view what we've been doing as a string of victories. Our allies, Hezbollah, and all of those people are our allies, a string of victories. The Islamic Republic is not isolated and cut off by itself in the so-called Middle East, right? They have a strategic alliance. Iran, Iraq, that used to be fighting each other under Saddam, right? Iran, Iraq, Syria. And for modern weaponry and technology, the Soviet Union or the Russians. That's the reality. We also made dua here, oh Allah, unify the Muslims, bring the old empires back. In the old days, it was 3 Islamic empires. Right? The Mughal Empire in India, the Mughals, Taj Mahal, all of that. In India. So the remnants of it would be part of Afghanistan and Pakistan. That was Uthmaniyya, the Ottoman Empire. 500 years the Ottomans ruled. Right? Then there was the Safavid dynasty. Y'all probably never heard of it. Safavids is the Iranian empire that changed Iran from Sunnis to Shias. The Safavid dynasty. Today, this idiot, what I'm trying to tell you is everything that we need is being provided by the United States of America. Everything that we need as Muslims is being provided and produced by the United States of America. Those 3 dynasties have no reason to unify. What happens all of a sudden? The dumb Americans support the Kurds, not just regular Kurds, but these militant, low-lifed Kurds, because we support Kurdistan. We always have. Some of our best friends. We've been home folks for decades. But there are these socialist-leaning, might as well call them commies, which I don't care who you are, freedom fighter, but they are American stooges. Y'all probably saw on TV the way the U.S. gave them all these weapons. Well, the people that's been fighting that don't like an independent Kurdistan, especially is Turkey. But there's another problem. Iraq has Kurds, Syria has Kurds, Iran has Kurds. And if they unify all of them, that'll knock off a piece of Iran, a piece of Iraq, so nobody want anybody chopping off their territory. So when the U.S. in Iraq supported the division of Iraq, how? Support the Kurds in the north, right? Get the Sunnis mad over in Turkey and all of that place, and the Shias in the south, in Basra and Central. Of course, 70% of the people are Shias, but that's what they was trying to do with Iraq, is to divide it up into Shia stand, Arab stand, this, right? Anything, division. Like the British, divide, conquer, and rule. We're going to get back to this point. So it is the United States of America that made them all work together. Right. Saudi Arabia, under U.S. guidance, developed all of these groups. When you talk about Daesh, when you talk about ISIL, Nusra, where do you think they get their money? From Saudi Arabia, from the United States. That's where they get their money. The U.S. claimed to be bombing these so-called terrorists in Iraq and Syria for 2 years. They didn't bomb one guy. Russia came in, and in 3 weeks they'd almost knocked him. Because they're going to hit him. What I'm trying to say is the U.S., the Israelis, they're all behind this. Now, back to Kurdistan. You and I don't have the power, the physical power, nor the strategic leverage to produce in the political world the things that would be beneficial to us. Nor did anyone have the political leverage and balance and power to produce the reconfiguration of the old Uthmaniyya, right? Safavids and Mughals, the old Islamic empires. But the U.S. did it. It forced Iran and Turkey together. Why? Because they both got courage and you're trying to destabilize the whole region. So they got to be home folks right away. So they home folks. Right now, you watch, they just had big meetings in Tehran, Putin, Turkey, and Iran. And they decided what they're going to do in Syria. Not to jump a minute, but all Syria. You hear of Syria, 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 right? You hear of all the refugees in Europe, right? How did that happen? The criminal United States laughingly, remember the old hang woman, Hillary Clinton? We came, we saw, we conquered, they got rid of Gaddafi. Why? Because Gaddafi helped Africans a lot. He had 33 billion, 34 billion in gold. They knew about that. So they got rid of him. When they got rid of Gaddafi, that destabilized the region. At the same time, they got fitna, a big war going on that they're supporting in Syria. So the people of Syria and all over that region, as far as Afghanistan, come to Libya. When Gaddafi was there, they couldn't come to Libya, and it was stable and strong. So they come to Libya, get on all of those boats, and by the millions, they went to Europe. The Europeans and the Americans destroyed Libya, and now, because they destroyed Libya, do you see how the stuff is working? These idiots have produced every problem they got. We don't want all those people there. Well, if you'd have left Syria alone, if you'd have left Gaddafi alone, you wouldn't have a problem. The idiots bombed the military parade last week in Iran, almost exactly on Imam Hussein Day. That put everybody in a mood of martyrdom. They have more unity right now in Iran than they've had in decades. Why? Because the U.S. is messing with them openly, and ain't nobody can come out to Munafiqeen and the rich people in the north used to talk, we want to be friends with Iran. I mean, with America. They can't say that now. Why they can't say it? Because being old Donald done messed up everything to our benefit. What I'm trying to tell you is that Allah, we call it in sales human engineering, but in this case, it's Allah engineering the idiots like Donald Trump, Bolton, and Pompeo, all them crackpots, and Netanyahu, these people are technical crackpots. And we used to have some issues about our friends in Iran and some of our other friends. Seemed like they were just making mistake after mistake. It seemed like little old nickel and dime stuff. Well, you know what? What has happened recently is this. When Allah answers your prayers, right? Sometime your mission might change a little. We always talk about la tatrabu, no reproach. When they realized Joseph's brothers realized that Joseph was the king, and not the king, but he was the big wazir in charge of everything. They said, aren't you Joseph? I said, yes, I am. Oh man, we blew it. He said, don't worry about that. La tatrabu, no reproach. That's what Musa said in the Quran. No reproach this day. What does that mean? He didn't tell them, you low down niggas. That's what they would have been in those days. Throwed me down the well. Thought I was a goner, didn't you? Sending me way over here in Egypt. I'm sitting up rotting in the penitentiary for I don't know how long. Right? He didn't say that. He said no reproach. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Medina, when he came from Medina back to Mecca, at the conquest of Mecca, they said, oh Rasulullah, what you gonna do with us? He said, I say the same thing to you that Joseph said to his brother, la tatrabu, no reproach. He didn't say, go kill Abu Sufyan and Hind. You take that girl, hang her upside down and cut her feet, her head, and chop her in pieces because she ate my uncle's or chewed his liver. Right? Some say heart. He didn't say that. He didn't say, you bums over there, oh, that's so-and-so. You're the one that threw that spear and killed my uncle. Yeah. And you the one that was laughing when I was running off. He didn't say that. La tatrabu. In our case, in Oakland, we was planning to go back last week. I'm glad, 2 weeks ago, I'm glad we didn't go back. Because there's a change. We had planned, when we go back to Oakland, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and this is part of our plan. We've been planning it for years. Our plan was clearly to popularize and educate the whole world on the evil, tattletale, infiltration, sabotage system that they got here in America. That's part of our mission. That's why we've been playing with everybody. That's why if you see us go over something 9 or 10 or 20 times, people think that, boy, I must be crazy. No, we're going through our tests, trial. Here's the other thing. Just like Joseph, all of the fitna, nobody has been playing with us here in America. They've been chopping it, they've been cutting it nigga's neck. They ain't been playing with no As-Sabiqun. And nobody, and guess what? Not a doggone scratch. And then you pray, oh Allah, make a fool out of those monsters, because remember, kindness, optimism, and humor, that's been our foundation. But to implement that, you have to continually evolve, because every now and then, the Negro, the human being in you say, I'm going to knock them niggas. try to knock you, you say, oh. Then allow for that cycle, because this cycle is not a new cycle, this is a constant cycle. Allah soften you up. Yeah, soften you up right on stage, right now, right this minute. Right today. A whole reformulation of what we do in Oakland. Whole new reformulation of what we do here. A whole formulation of what we do with some of our allies, because our allies are acting funny too. All the people in South Africa, Sri Lanka, everywhere you go, everywhere the governmental, Malcolm used to call them hand-picked Negroes. You know what that meant? That every nigga that's running something in America is hand-picked, like hand-picked fruit, hand-picked Negroes. That was over 50 years ago. What kind of Muslims do you think we have in America? Hand-picked Muslims. Every one of them that you see is picked by the U.S. government, polished off and put in his box. And he stays there until the white man come and pick him out and say, shine him up and say, go get him. Whoever the white man point out, just like old dog, them boys go. That's what they do. Now suppose you survive all of that, you and your little crew. You say, I fix them niggas. That's what you're a human being. But Allah softened you up. When I was in Oakland last month, or whenever it was, when I looked at those people that was the troublemakers, like, we got it on the phone, figured out what to eat, and I told Abdul-Malik, hey man, why don't you get back on board and try to do something good for Islam? He said, nah. So I saw him running in the hills. We run in the hills over there. And I had forgotten that this guy had been around a long time, and I saw a man running down the hill. He had a little bald spot in his head. And I ain't the skinniest guy, but this guy was kind of rotund. His cheeks was all puffed up. And I looked at the same thing I saw when I saw Mukhtar in Khadijah. I looked at him and felt sorry for him. I said, man, y'all have been living on a gravy train, on the white man's gravy train, and look at you. And not one millionaire out of all of you. The white man don't make the stooges millionaires. I know no snitches, no tattletales, no functionaries, not one hand-picked Negro that's a multimillionaire. Maybe one hit, but he don't enjoy it, right? Everybody know you a hand-picked nigga. That's what Malcolm did with Roy Wilkins, them, and all them stooges. They was hand-picked. I look at all, Mellow Yellow and all of them, I look at them, and they look like they look at me. The whole weight of the government is trying to finish off your dear brother, and maybe I don't notice it, or something. And they looking stupid, silly. So why shouldn't we have a change of policy? La tatrabu, no reproach. What does that mean? To Joseph it means we got a lot of, let's see what it says. In the name of Allah, most gracious and most merciful. He said, this day let no reproach be cast on you. Allah will forgive you, and He is the most merciful of those to show mercy. How often, according to the hadith, should you overlook your brother's sins and stuff against you? Anybody remember? 70 times a day. Now, do you remember? Ain't that what the hadith say? They asked Rasul, how should I overlook what they do to the brother? Well, 70 times a day, right? Isn't that the hadith? That's Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, all of them. 70 times a day. That's how often you overlook your faults. I mean, their faults. Now, suppose Allah hooking you up. Your policy, kindness, optimism, and humor, that's your choice. And ain't nobody making you do that. And then Allah is hooking you up all the time and hooking up your team. Remember, our team is on a winning streak, man. Our whole team is on a winning streak all over the world. Who produced the winning streak? Boss Man did. And here, it's the same thing. Everything we feel like we be engineered. We think, psychological guerrilla warfare. We just playing with ourselves. Allah is doing everything. And Allah allows you to have a little self-confidence so you at least know that's a door, that's a street, this is a car. And if I turn this, it'll go. So Allah wants you to have confidence so you don't just walk in the street and walk in a hole and kill yourself. So this idea about kindness, optimism, and humor is your choice. You got to remember now what we talk about all the time here, you write your own future. Write your own future. You have to stay in a certain frame of mind. Y'all ever heard of the book Think and Grow Rich? It's a very good book. I like it. It's my favorite book of all. And the CDs are even better. Or just as good. I didn't know that Mahatma Gandhi, I didn't know where a lot of the stuff was coming from Jamaat Islami leaders, everybody, because they was all in the 40s. It came out in 1937. When they was trying to get freedom from India, all of the liberators was reading that type of stuff, Think and Grow Rich, believe it or not. And I was reading all their history and I'd see something. And then when I started reading Think and Grow Rich, I said, man, these guys. And then the author said, yeah, all of those people have been paying attention to me. I said, they sure have, because you said this in 1937. They said it in 1947 and 57. So, what does it say? It says things like this. It has certain principles about kindness, forgiveness, and writing your own future. A lot of people don't believe that you can sit right here and write your own future. Or as we said before, the book you want to read, you got to write it. Because you can't go in the library and get the book you really would like to read, right? Tell the truth. Is there a book in the library that you would just love to read? It's not there. That book has to be written by you. When you think of your future, you have to write in that. So we've been talking a long time. So we're not writing in enemies. We're writing in people that was misguided. When you used to write your future, you would write, I want this, I want that. But now, you write in everybody playing a good part. You see what I mean? Because normally goal setting, you set your own goals. But in order for the world to be like you want to make it, a whole millions and millions of people have to get in that trend. Isn't that right? So you write in your book that millions and millions of people, they begin to do this and they begin to do that, and on and on and on. And believe it or not, you can influence yourself and your whole region. And if you do it good enough and big enough, you can influence the world. What does that mean? That means the world we live in, if we don't fix it, you're going to be living in a world like you living today. And you lucky you ain't choking to death and starving to death and bubbling up, turning upside down. Because these crackpots, look at the world. The ocean is full of plastic. The air is full of gobbledygook. And they just get warmed up. And they don't take no study that says, well, global warming kicked in, this and that. That's why we gotta do another 15-year study. In 15 years, everybody be dead. I'm telling you, right? People that's running the world as crackpots. We have to visualize the world we want to live in and make that world. And I got a couple of ayats we're going to run over them and close on out. So we talked about no reproach this day. And this was the concept. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّا دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Who is better in speech than one who calls men to Allah, works righteous deeds, and say, I am of those who bow in Islam. So you wanted a mission. You go to all the big groups, they got a mission. What do we do? What does Allah say? وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّا دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. The best speech, the best thing you can do, دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Call people to Allah. Call people to Allah. وَعَمِلُ صَالِحًا. Work righteous deeds. Do good deeds. We're going to get to that in a minute. And don't be afraid to but I don't really practice no moves and stuff. I'm more like y'all. That's what they say. The Muslims, the immigrant Muslims say, I'm more like you. They want to be like Americans more than they want to be Islamic. That's what they say. That's what I hear them say. All the flowers and everything say that. Well, you want to be like a fool. The American people are about some of the dumbest people in the world. To vote for these dummies, decade after decade, lie after lie, foolishness after foolishness. وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَاتُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَاتُ أَدْفَعْ بِالَّتِي أَحْسَنُ فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. Goodness and evil are not the same. Repel evil with goodness. This is turn the other cheek on steroids. That's what the Quran is saying now. Do not equalize evil with evil. Return or repel the evil that they do to you. Now we're talking about America. We always talk about democracy, and we haven't had a hand yet from black people that said they got some democracy here. Therefore, we assume that you don't have none, and you have never seen any. It's just an assumption. I'm only 73. I've been looking for it. I have not seen it. So you repel the evil of the system with good. Then between you and thee who was hatred becomes as you were a friend and enemy. What's that saying? The white man that's dying like flies. Last year, 72,000 people died of opium. You know, white folks is dying even at the height of our heroin addiction. We've never hit nothing like no 72,000 a year. And you know, these white folks is dying 72,000 a year with Narcan. Y'all know what Narcan is? That stuff you OD and it just take a little hit of it and bring you back. Some white folks have been brought back 8 and 9 and 10 times. When a nigga OD, what did he do? Die. How many of us ever came back? Hey, we ain't had no Narcan. White folks is dying 72,000 a year with Narcan. Some of them been brought back 6, 7. Most all of them been brought back once or twice. Right? Now, who has experience with all of this? You and I do. What's our duty? To the people who don't know that they're the target. These white folks are being targeted the same way they targeted me and you, isn't that right? What did they do with the rebellion? As soon as we got out of hand, bam, that Haran hit us in the mid-60s and knocked the rebellion out in 2 years. Detroit, rebellious. Run out the police, run out the National Guard, 67 or 68. They had to bring the 82nd Airborne Division to get back Detroit. Y'all watch that movie? That is a strategic lie. That punk movie they just had on Detroit, throw it out of your mind. The Negroes knocked Detroit, knocked the police department, and the National Guard. Read the 82nd Airborne Division. That's what got Detroit back for. The next year, you could come in a fly swatter and knock over Detroit. Why? Heroin. Same thing in Oakland. I was in Oakland. I'm in the front row. I already know what I'm talking about. I don't care what your studies yet. I was in the front row. And what did they do? They destroyed the black community in order to destroy the rebellion. Right? They do it all over the world. We got to kill all the people to pacify them. In Vietnam, everywhere, pacification programs, right? All over the world. Who has experience in this? You and I. The white folks are useless, especially white men. They don't see everything is white women now. That's admitted. You know, don't you cross on them white girls now. They easing into power and they on the roll. They're on the roll in numbers and everything is headed their way. They don't need muscle for big machines and nothing. They need everything is modern and detailed. How many Negroes, how many brothers you know are into detailism? It runs us crazy. Who wants? They'll build you a big house and everything. They like that. But all that little nitpicky stuff, who like that? Girls. All the modern technology is detailed stuff that men don't like. Women will automatically head ahead of them. They already are. It's not in this America. 60% of the women in universities in Iran for the last 25 years have been women. Okay, here's what I'm trying to say now. The white man does not understand what's happening to him. The middle class and the poor white man. Donald Trump is getting all of them because he's making them think it's a racial issue. But guess who's killing them white men? The government is killing them. How are they killing them? With heroin. Just like they killed me. Why would they do that to their white? Who owns all the guns in America? Middle class and poor crackers. Right? You think you like your car and stuff like that? White people love their guns. You ever been to any of their houses? They ain't got no food in the fridge, they got a gun rack. How many niggas got gun racks in their houses? How many white folks have gun racks? All of them. Poor crackers, they ain't got a... I went over to Baltimore to weapons, you know, they had gun shows. And you know, those carts, like if you buy of stuff with Sam's or something, cars. I saw white boys that had almost had holes in their shoes. They was pushing, they had ammunition stacked up on them carts. You know how much that cost? That's $20,000 worth of ammunition. A box of shells, put a big box, stack a big box up here and there. You got $20,000 because they're pushing. Two of them pushing hard. Right? They believe in Jeffersonian democracy. I don't want to get into it. But the Second Amendment is put there not to protect yourself against your neighbor or Indians, but to protect yourself against the government. Isn't that right? These people don't have nothing else left for those white folks. So they're going to do what they always do. They don't have no use for you. Get rid of you. And then all of these haphazard killings of little kids in schools all over, you think they just happen. Some dumb people think they do. They're trying to get rid of the Second Amendment. The shooting down here, what was that, the Navy Yard? What the guy say, man, FBI, I went to the FBI and I told them somebody trying to make me do stuff like this. That's what the guy told them. Science fiction management is real. All that sci-fi y'all watch on TV, they use it on you. Okay, but what about me and you? Adawatun ka'annahu waliyun hamimun. Repel evil with goodness. It may be that you, waliyun, become their wali. They are not bright. You already know that. They was bright, they wouldn't be in the situation they're in. They would know who's their friend and who's their enemy. Right? And tell the truth. What reason would white folks have to be mad at niggas? What have an nigga ever did to any white folks? Right? Throughout history, what have we done to them for them to be mad at us? What did old handkerchief-headed Obama do for white folks to be mad at him? He was as good a nigga as you're going to get. Right? What did they say? We ain't going to let him do nothing. Why? He just racist. But here you, wali, the Quran is telling us to repel their evil with good. And it may be between you and he there was hatred become, you know what hamim in Arabic is warm, fuzzy like. It means you ain't gonna become white folks just friends. You're gonna become their warm and fuzzy friend. And before that, you're gonna be their wali to help guard and protect them because they don't know how evil they think Don is their friend. Don getting them killed. He don't know. The people that's going to rescue America, should have told you in the very beginning and just solved it and went home. Islam. That's what it is. But we have to ease it to them in a way that's workable. Islam. That's what the Quran says. I'm going to read the last ayat, and that'll be it. And no one will be granted such goodness except those who exercise patience, self-restraint, none but the persons of the greatest good fortune. وَمَا يُلَاكَهَا إِلَّا ذُو حَتِيمٍ عَظِيمٍ. House is like a fortune, good fortune. The people that do this job, they're going to be a lucky bunch of jokers. And the last thing, everything that they do is a big dumb mess up. They always went around the world and tried to start fitna and disunity in the world. They have fitna in spades. This right here, America's already disunified, right? But this is it. It's in every newspaper today. It's a lose-lose situation for America. Just lose-lose. White woman had everybody crying. But the white man was logical, so if you was logical, you would say, and you were like a jurist or something, you say the white man is right. If you got your emotions into it, the white woman is right. It don't make no difference what you do. If they vote him into the Supreme Court, they lose. If they throw him out, they lose. If they believe her, they lose. If they believe him, they lose. Why? Because division. What they gave us, divide the long-haired niggas into with the short-haired niggas. Remember the old plan? What was that the plan they had down there? Tell the light-skinned niggas you better than the black niggas. Tell the black niggas you better than the blue niggas. You know, they used to have blue niggas here. Remember in every one of our neighborhoods we had one person called Blue. Have you seen a blue Negro? If he did, he just got here from Africa, one of the African immigrants. It ain't no blue niggas no more. Are they? Tell the truth. Where is one blue nigga? You ain't nobody. Tell the truth. Didn't we always have in the neighborhood somebody that was darker than black? We people who are darker than blue. We done got mixed up. We look kind. I'm considered, shoot, I might be considered dark or light. I don't know what it is, but I used to be medium. Now I'm dark. Not today. And I close with this. About that color thing. The best thing ever happened to me was I was born and my mother was kind of old and all her friends was old. So they used to, and I was the youngest in the family. So all of them would say, now when you're a young girl, you're like, ooh, he got curly hair, ooh, he got this, right? But when you get older, an older black woman want a good stable man, right? So they knew what I would be going through. So this is back in the 50s, and they used to say, Ethel, he's a pretty little black thing. All of them said the same thing. And by the time I realized what they did, they was dead, most of them. He's a pretty little black thing. Because they knew what I was going to go through. That I was darker than I am now. That darkies didn't have it that good, you know what I mean? Big deal. But they used to put, he's a pretty little black thing. So couldn't nobody tell me nothing. Why? Because I was a pretty little black thing. And they said, them old ugly black niggas, old nappy head. Nigga, your mama's got nappy hair, you got that. It didn't ever bother me. Why? Because I had been brainwashed by the older black women. Boy, I wish I could have told them what they did for me. Never had none of that nickel and dime, you know, the color level, all that stuff. Because they just, he's a pretty little old black thing. They was brainwashing the brother. May Allah bless him with the water. They were taking the truth. Yeah, but it was, I didn't hear it nowhere else. The lamb. Right, the white man is the devil, the black man is God. I mean that. Oh, why would you accept that? It sounded pretty good. I said, what did you say? We'll close up. This is 63. I said, no, the blacker you are, the better you are. And God is black. God is black. God is black. The angel, everybody's black. What? You've been watching them white angels out. I said, yeah, all angels are white. And when you go die, you go into heaven, right? Yeah. And what you gonna turn? White as snow. told you that? And it started making sense. The white man told you that. And then he told you God is white. He didn't say God is white. Here's this boy, remember Jesus, long hair, heart on his, what did he look Middle Eastern? No. He had blonde hair in the Middle East. That was the Son of God, right? It don't take much imagination if that's the son, what his daddy looked like, right? They did a job on us, man. and the people get mad because we act the fool. And I said, I don't get mad at niggas. I said, the stuff they taught them is absolutely, so here we come, and I'm going to close. They said, no. The white man is a Yakub grafted devil, skunk of the planet Earth. So that's the white man. I said, good God Almighty, that sure sounds good. You know how we like people to talk about the white man. And that Jezebel, that's a white woman. And Lazarus, well, that's a Negro. But I mean, I said, man, I said, you mean this is really beautiful? The blacker, the better. The less of that white man, that devil. Now the guy's telling me probably the lightest guy in the room. Did you know it? And they tell the truth. In the nation, all the leaders was light. I said, man. And then God, I'm going to stop. I got to stop in a minute, sooner or later. They had a picture of God. It wasn't like Marcus Garvey, they had big lips. They had Farad Muhammad. His mama was white from New Zealand, and he was from Pakistan, well, India at that time. And that was God. So later on, I said, why can't we have a nigga as God? I mean, if you're talking about the black man as God, why he got to have straight hair? I ain't got no, well, we did have straight hair. Back in the old days, Dr. Shabazz, back in that time, see how you know you have straight hair? Because our eyelashes are straight. And Dr. Shabazz curled up our hair to protect us in the jungle, you know. Well, they do protect you. You ever scratch your head in the summertime when it's hot? It's moist, isn't that right? And you can stand out in the sun, and this stuff here is like a hat, especially if it's long and rolled up, it keep your head cool. That's why white folks pass out in the sun. I don't want to get into any racial teaching, but we used to teach all that stuff. Black supremacy is what it is. All that's foolishness. La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. That's what's going to help you, that's what's going to help me, and that's what's going to help America. You want to heal America and get Islam to them. You want to heal yourself? Practice Islam. Well, Allah, we seek our refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek our refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek our refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek our refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful, keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from one of what is besides thee. Ameen.